It is preview season here on Armchair Analysis, and today we're talking all about the Penn State Nittany Lions. Can James Franklin finally get over the hump? They were CFP semifinalists last year, a 13-3 record, 8-1 in conference, lost the Big Ten championship game to Oregon. Can Penn State finally get over the hump and accomplish two different goals: a Big Ten championship, which they do have won under the James Franklin era, and can they win a national championship, which this is the team that has kind of followed a similar blueprint to past champions. We'll explain all that and more here on Armchair Analysis. Welcome in to this Friday, August 1st edition. One of two today. I got a double upload again due to missing yesterday. It's been a hectic last week or two. Who knew buying a house and then moving, or working on moving, would be such a time-consuming process. So I apologize that the inconsistency has been there the last couple of weeks, but we're still here. Double uploading to make up for it today, and then we're back on schedule the rest of the week. I don't see any reason why we cannot carry on and stay on time the rest of the way through. When we close out with Ohio State, of course, the defending national champs. If you're new around here, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Stick around, enjoy the video. I mean, look, I enjoy the comments. I enjoy everything that we've had built in this community so far, and I hope to continue that here as well. We're looking to hit 200 subscribers by the time week 0 comes along. I think we can get the job done. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. It's free. We got content year round, and I am just looking forward to continuing to build this thing. So, all that out of the way, let's talk Penn State. This team, again, 13-3, 8-1 in Big Ten play last year, runners-up in the Big Ten to Big Ten champs Oregon. This team averaged 33.1 points per game last year. That's 28th in college football, which is kind of crazy to say 33.1 is only just outside the top 25, but it was. Team allowed 16.5 points per game. That was 8th in the sport last year, and they were 18th in turnover margin with a plus 0.7 turnover margin per game. Bring in a 15th ranked recruiting class, the 41st overall portal class with 8 commitments, but they were some big ones, and really, they went after something they needed, which was wide receiver, and that's kind of where the majority of their portal haul came from. James Franklin returns for yet another season. If I'm not mistaken, this is close to year 11, maybe, at this point. I could be wrong, but I don't believe so. This is year 12, actually. 11 years was last year, so I was close. But he's back for year 12, and looking forward for maybe his best season yet as the head coach of the Nittany Lions. Andy Kotelnicki returns for another year as the offensive coordinator. He was brought in to kind of expand this offense a little bit, let it be a little more dynamic, and I think that worked. It obviously shows in that points per game total. They became a little more dynamic, but I think experience plays into that as well. The thing they were still missing was a passing game. We'll talk more about how they went to adjust and account for that in the offseason. Jim Knowles, stolen from Ohio State. After a national championship, Jim Knowles is now out the door. And at a rival, Penn State? I don't know. Some people are going to get where that's coming from. But Jim Knowles as the defensive coordinator, I think, is a big deal because he's replacing Tom Allen, who was there last year. And this team was super aggressive last year. But Jim Knowles is an aggressive coach. He likes to blitz, bring pressure, create issues for quarterbacks. It's going to be very similar, but it's just coming from a different scheme. How can the defense adjust? How can the defensive players adjust? A lot of experience on that side of the ball, too. You lose Abdul Carter, but you have guys that can step up and very likely not replace what he did because he was just an absolute terror in the backfield last year. But you could see guys step up and kind of a multitude of players replace that production altogether. This team returns 12 total starters, 7 of them offensively, and it starts with quarterback Drew Aller. They are pumped to have him back. And this kind of goes into the thing where this offense specifically said, yeah, we're bringing back everybody. Everybody who can is coming back. We're going for a championship next year. Why is that important? It's because last year, Ohio State did the similar thing. Brought back all their defense and their offense. They said, hey, look, we're going for a national championship. And what did they do? They won a national championship. 2 years ago, Michigan brought everybody back after the 2022 loss to TCU in the playoffs. Brought everybody back, and what did they do? Win a national championship, 15-0. Penn State is looking to try to replicate that success in the form of a championship. It's very well possible. They're a favorite to do so. I believe they have maybe the second or third best odds to win a national championship overall. And they have the second best odds to win the Big Ten. So they certainly have done what they need to do on paper. Can they fulfill it on the field? Drew Aller is going to be a big part of that, and how he can continue to progress with his downfield passing. Again, helped out by this receiver room that they bring in 3 transfers, and all 3 of them I think are going to make their own special difference. Kyron Hudson from USC just never got the run he expected at USC. Kind of got overshadowed by other players. Mekhi Lemon specifically is a guy that I think came in and played better than expected last year. Ended up taking over the role that Hudson was trying to take. So he comes over to Penn State. Devontae Ross from Troy comes into Penn State, and they are pumped for what he's brought so far in the spring. They are excited for what he can be on field come September, or the last weekend of August. And then they got Trevor Pena coming over from Syracuse, a guy that they're really excited about. Syracuse was trying hard to hold on to. Couldn't. He's going to come in. So you got 3 transfer receivers that are going to start. And then you got Liam Clifford, who's going to be back, and he's the lone returning receiver that was a starter last year. You also have Caden Saunders, who's been in this program for a while now, 3 years, a junior. Excited to see if he gets a little more playing time himself. But overall, improvement on, again, I say this on paper because, we haven't seen it on the field. I can't just sit here and tell you, yeah, they've improved on the field, but I think that they are going to be a much improved team in the passing game. It's also going to help with Khalil Dinkins, who I think is going to be a really solid receiving threat, a guy who is going to, I think, surprise some people with how good he can be. This offensive line returns 3 of 5 starters, all of them on the left side of the offensive line, which is great for I almost said Sean Clifford, just talking about Liam, his brother, but for Drew Aller on the blind side specifically, having those 3 returners, left tackle, left guard, center, that's a big deal. That's important for any quarterback to be comfortable, again, on the blind side. The right side is not returning starters, but upperclassmen. Cooper Cousins is a sophomore, but they do have a senior, Nolan Rucci, at right tackle. Excited to see this running game. Of course, that's something we glossed over, but how could we? It's Nick Singleton and Katron Allen again in 2025. We've seen what they've been able to do over the last couple of years. That's not going to change. I don't really see any difference. They are going to run the ball, and they're going to do it very well. This Penn State offense, I think, gains a lot more of a dynamic feel and really can play into Kotelnicki's strength as a play caller because of what they did at receiver. That is going to help them a lot. And that 33.1 points per game is certainly replicable. I'd say it's probably possible that they go even higher than that just because of what they have coming back. You could also say that because of what they start the schedule with. They don't have a West Virginia on the schedule to start the year. They play 2 group of 5 and an FCS game. And the FCS game is not the toughest thing you'll ever see. But that's schedule. That is what it is. 5 returning starters on defense. 10 of 11 players come back from 2024. I would say that matters for continuity, but again, with a new system, it's all new. Jim Knowles coming over is a big deal, though, because it stays aggressive. It stays turnover-centric, I think might be the word you'd use. This team forced 31 turnover opportunities last year. Remember, opportunities are not the same as turnovers. Turnover opportunities are interceptions and forced fumbles combined, not interceptions and fumble recoveries. 20 interceptions, 11 forced fumbles. They got after the football a lot last year. Multiple players with 3 interceptions. I think they had 4 players have 3 interceptions or more last year, which was actually just 3 interceptions, period. And they had, I think, 3 or 4 players have 2 forced fumbles as well. It was a team who could really get after the football, and they did a fantastic job of that. They're going to look to try to replicate it again in just a different scheme. 4.5 yards per play allowed last year. That was 7th in the sport. And they bring in 1 transfer who's going to be a projected starter. I believe that's Amari Campbell. I couldn't read my own writing, but Amari Campbell from North Carolina comes in. He's going to be an interesting addition at the... I don't know why I have lost my place on my page there. Going to be a big addition to I believe the linebacker room, if I'm not mistaken, but I want to double check and make sure I don't spout something off that's not correct. But it is the linebacker room. He's expected to play a good amount, which is interesting in a way because Dominic DeLuca was originally projected to start, and I would have loved to have seen that. I've been really happy to see what he's done. But he's going to get a lot of playing time, no less. He's a guy who makes a lot of plays, creates a lot of has created a lot of turnover opportunities himself over the last year. And so, however they kind of implement both these guys into this defense and get them both on the field, I think it's important because Tony Rojas, I think, is the one like standalone. He is not leaving the field unless he's completely out of gas. That's kind of my thought with this Penn State defense. Leaders returning, they got Zakee Wheatley coming back, 96 tackles last year. He leads the team in returning tackles. Danny Dennis Sutton leads the team in tackles for loss and sacks returning. Was not close to Abdul Carter in those numbers, but he did have 13 tackles for loss and 8.5 sacks, which was shy of 24 from Abdul Carter last year, and then 12 sacks from Abdul Carter last year. Again, multiple players had 3 interceptions. I think there were 4 total with 3 interceptions, and I think there were 4 players who had 2 forced fumbles throughout the season last year. Just really impressive stuff from the defense, and kind of, if you're a Clemson fan and you're watching this and you're saying, okay, what can we expect from Tom Allen? What I just explained to you is what you can expect from Tom Allen. Moving on, though, since this is not a Clemson preview, the name I'm watching for this year, Devontae Ross, the transfer from Troy. 1,000 receiving yards last year on, I think, 74 or 76 catches, one of the two. 11 touchdowns, and was just overall became a dynamic playmaker for the Troy offense, led them to what was a really impressive year. They are looking for a lot of that from him, and they're excited for what he brings to the table because he has kind of proven himself as a playmaker at the G5 level, and throughout the spring, he was kind of the talk of camp from what I was able to gather. It'll be interesting to watch what he can do and how he can fit himself into this offense. And again, looking for that pass game to be much improved in 2025. Taking a look at the schedule, though, and I'll go ahead and pull this up so y'all can see it. It's pretty light early on with Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. Really just kind of get in, get everything installed, especially defensively, get out, be 3-0. And that's, we can just go ahead and, I don't normally do this, but we can just go ahead and say 3-0 because that's what they're going to be. The Big Ten schedule is not the toughest, but it's certainly not the lightest schedule either, especially with all the unknowns. I mean, we don't know. UCLA could be good. Probably a long shot, but they could be good. Iowa, that's a road trip that you really don't want to make, but you make it leading into a bye week. That'll be an interesting spot. You make the road trip to Columbus to face Ohio State. That's kind of a game. We talk about getting over the hump. This is a game you want to win, but have not really been able to be completely successful over the last 15 years. Indiana, that game, coming off of an emotional game against Ohio State, could become a tricky spot, but it's going to be in Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. I don't know how to feel. At Michigan State, at Rutgers to end the year, and then you got Nebraska in between those. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that we have a feel for, but we don't know exactly what they're going to look like. Let's go ahead and predict the schedule and see where I stand. Again, their over-under's 10.5. Odds to win the conference are plus 230. That's second best, and their odds to win a national championship, I'm pretty sure, are either second or third, maybe fourth, at plus 750. So we start off 3-0. Nevada, FIU, Nova wins. Oregon comes to town, and I think that this is going to be a matter of the fact that Dante Moore is still going to be kind of fresh in his career. And taking a look at their schedule, they're going to play Montana State, Oklahoma State, at Northwestern, Oregon State, at Penn State. This is really going to be the first test for Dante Moore. He's going to have 4 games of experience coming into this one, but it's the first real test for him as a starting quarterback. And you got to do it in Happy Valley, in whiteout. I think that's a little too much to overcome for a young quarterback. I'm taking Penn State to win the game. Not an indictment on Oregon. It's just tough for a quarterback to do that. I think that's going to be a game where we kind of see Jim Knowles' defense create issues for a quarterback who's young and inexperienced. and it's a very beneficial situation for Penn State. You go on the road to UCLA. I think they're going to win this game. Nico Iamaleava, we know what he can be. We know his potential. What does the UCLA team look like in this year? I mean, because the transfer from Nico was a little late. Things ended up being a little interesting over the course of the offseason. The drama was big, not only in Tennessee, but also out there in LA with Joey Aguilar, Nico Iamaleava. It'll be interesting to watch. I'm not saying that they're not going to be good, but I just don't predict them to be good, personally. They'll get a win over Northwestern. I think that's a pretty solid 6-0 start. You go on the road to Iowa. A tough game, a game where you're going to have to play your best, I think, but the two defenses in this game are going to be just fine. Who can kind of score? I think I trust Penn State to score more than I trust the Iowa offense at this very moment. Make it 7-0. They're going to go on the road to Ohio State, coming out of a bye week, and again, an environment that they have struggled to win in over the last 15 years. It's been tough for them. I think that's going to continue. I think they're going to lose to the Buckeyes on November 1st. They'll follow that up with a win over Indiana. They'll go on the road to East Lansing and get another win. I think Michigan State's probably another year or two off of their success if they're going to have it. That's kind of a to be determined. Nebraska, no matter how good I think they're going to be, I don't think they're better than Penn State, especially in Happy Valley. Taking a Penn State win there. And then you go on the road to Rutgers, get a win, close the season out 11-1, 8-1. Is that good enough for Indy? I think so. I think 11-1 is good enough to go to Indy. But we will see, because there is still a couple more predictions to go, especially the reigning Big Ten champs, Oregon. Indiana, who was a team that could have made the Big Ten title game and was a playoff contender. Ohio State was a playoff contender. And by the way, we've already predicted Michigan, so you can go back and check that video out and see what we said about the Wolverines. But I think 11-1, 8-1 is a good year. That's a playoff year, playoff caliber year, especially with wins over Oregon, Indiana, and taking care of business in the games you're supposed to. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's something I'm missing, something I'm off base on. Would love to hear all you guys' feedback down below in the comment section. That's what it's for. It's to build this community of college football fans who just love to talk about the sport. That's all we're here for. That's what we're about, and that's what we're going to continue to be about. So make sure y'all leave a like. Again, subscribe. We're trying to hit 200 before we get to college football season. By the time we go to week 0, it would be awesome to get that opportunity from you guys. We have plenty of content coming your way. The rest of preview season, which later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we got the Georgia Bulldogs video coming out. Tomorrow, August 2nd, we have SMU, last year's ACC runners-up. The day after that, we got Arizona, Big 12 champions, the reigning Big 12 champs, or defending Big 12 champs, whatever you want to say. We have the Indiana Hoosiers, Texas, Clemson, ACC champs, potential number 1 team in the country, Oregon, Notre Dame, and then Ohio State finishing on August 9th. I thank you guys all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Again, do all those things as previously mentioned. Like, subscribe, comment down below. We'll see you later tonight for Georgia. Y'all have a good rest of your day.